star to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback time! And the 49ers have double dipped in New York. Injuries, no problem. Backup quarterback, no problem. Giants go down just like the Jets did.
Yeah, the 49ers sent out there the squad they would have used in the second preseason game and still came away with a almost 30-point win against the Giants. I think it might say just as much about the Giants as it does about the Niners, but I was really happy with the way they played today.
Absolutely. What a great gutty performance by this team. Week in and week out now, it doesn't really seem to matter. This team is just dialed in. They know what it takes to win. They know what it takes to play at a high level, and it doesn't matter if it's the first guy's up or the next guy's up. We said it all week, next man up. This team came out, showed up, next man showed up today.
49ers came out and, they had some good plays, but really it was kind of a slow start. But the 49ers got some early field goals, took care of business that way. I wasn't taking advantage of red zone opportunities like I like, but, getting their footing, changing things up, especially with the new quarterback. I thought overall they still looked okay to start the game, but definitely they were going to heat up in the long run.
Yeah, their first couple scores were field goals. The Giants were able to match it. It was 6-6. And then with about a minute 7 left, McKinnon scored a touchdown. They had a 75-yard drive. Then they stopped the Giants, went down again and kicked a field goal to end the half and went up 16-6. That's when I started to kind of breathe freely, like, okay, the Giants aren't moving the ball too well. I think the Niners are good. I think they'll stay out in front. And it was a little sloppy, but I understand that. They're playing a lot of backups. And in the second half, they kind of heated up.
They really did, and I want to go back to before that last field goal there at the end of the half. Fred Warner with the big pick there to kind of put us in great field position and put us at a point in the game where, yeah, we had some momentum. We had just scored, but the Giants were looking to come down and just put something up on the board. Fred Warner steps in front, great pick, puts us in position to put some more points on the board and just make it hurt just a little bit more before we go in at the half. And then we come out of halftime, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the emergence of Brandon Ayuk.
Yep, Brandon Ayuk comes in, starts making some plays, little catches on some RPO-style plays on the slant, getting some free space, and then they hit a reverse, and boom, there he goes, run in for a touchdown. Great blocking downfield by Ben Garland and Kyle Juszczyk. Gets him into the end zone for his very first touchdown in the NFL. It was big time. It was finally the first time I felt like Brandon Ayuk looked comfortable in game situations. I think last week was a real wake-up call. That was his preseason real fast. And this week he came to play, and NFL better be worried about Mr. Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah, he played really well in the second half. I don't believe he recorded a stat in the first half. In the second half, he had 5 catches for 70 yards and 3 runs for 31. Scored a touchdown on that reverse, like you said. And that's pretty much when Brandon Ayuk scored that touchdown. That's when you pretty much could put the game away. And then right after that, they scored on the Jeff Wilson screen pass for about 20 yards. And that's when the game was blown open, 29-9.
Absolutely. The real only hiccup that I saw was our long snapper struggled today. Nelson had a rough day. Wisniewski did the best that he could. That was the most action Wisniewski got all day since he did not record a single punt. This offense controlled the ball, moved the ball downfield. Other than the one long missed field goal from Robbie Gould, special teams looked solid. And then on top of that, the defense, the D-line, kudos to Kasarik, kudos to Saleh, and moving pieces around, calling up the right guys. Deion Jordan looked fantastic today. Javon Kinlaw studded up all day long, the entire time. The other guy that looked really good today too was Ziggy Ansah for his first day on the roster and really only having a few days of practice this week.
Right, the defense played well. I think we all thought this might happen, kind of a low scoring for the Giants. But I thought that I liked the way that Kyle really didn't pull his foot off the gas this time. He still threw the ball in the fourth quarter. he made sure that they put that exclamation point on the victory, make sure that the 49ers got it, and they kept making key plays. Mullins looked good, especially in play action, moving the pocket. I thought that was really big in the game, is the 49ers taking advantage, and then also just not stopping. Even though you saw Jet come out towards the fourth quarter to protect him, they still made sure that they were pushing the ball, making plays, and finishing the Giants off.
Yeah, I agree. It was great. And shout out to all these guys that came in that are not normal starters or do not normally get playing time and made plays. Jeff Wilson Jr. with 2 touchdowns. JaMychal Hasty got in the game, got a couple carries late. Good for him. Mullins obviously played very well. So the first couple drives he was a little shaky, but afterwards he looked pretty good. Kendrick Bourne, I thought, played definitely his best game of this year so far. Then defensively, you had Jason Verrett, looked like the guy we were hoping for when the Niners signed him last year.
Right.
He was good out there in coverage, and Dante Johnson was good out there in coverage as well. Missing arguably our top 3 corners, and the 2 that played today shut the Giants down.
Absolutely. It was a wonderful performance top to bottom. Everyone stepped up that needed to. I want to give some credit to Kendrick Bourne. Other than the one drop he had, he looked great today. He got some separation. He made some big catches. Actually backed it up a little bit today. He looked fantastic. I was happy with the performance. I was really glad that Ross Dwelley, especially in the first half when the offense wasn't, the passing game wasn't really clicking on all cylinders early in the game. We were struggling a little bit. And when Reed went down, I was really worried about the options we were going to have, and Dwelley came up big in that first half and really allowed Brandon Ayuk the opportunity in the second half to have a lot more matchups one-on-one out in space where he could beat the corner and put himself in position to make plays, and then he did.
I think a big victory has to go to the front office, John Lynch and even Kyle Shanahan, for the evaluation of players and talent. It's very obvious today with the depth that they had with so many starters out, and yet they still played at a high level and beat an NFL caliber football team. And that's what's important here, is that they're still winning games even when they have so many injuries. You can't say enough about the front office and what they've done, and it's going to change. People are coming back. This is the team you're going to see, and so that's the exciting part, is moving forward, these guys are going to be big time, and the 49ers are still going to be heard from.
Real quick, I have a couple questions for you guys. What's your opinion on? One is that Kevin Givens has kind of been a surprise guy that's been playing well on the interior.
Yeah, I think he's played well. I mean, I think that he wouldn't have made the 53-man roster if they didn't think he had, come to this level. I do think that, I don't think he would have made it if Julian Taylor would have been healthy. But he's looked good. I mean, he's been in the backfield. He's caused, some disruption in the run game. So that I like from him. I'd still like to see some improvement with his hand placement and stuff like that in the pass rush. But as far as playing inside and stopping the run, yeah, he looked pretty good.
Huh. He's looked very solid. Ant hit it. He's looked fairly solid. I don't think anyone expects Givens to be a guy that's blowing up every play or even necessarily 100% in the right position all the time. It's a guy who can come in situationally and plug and play, especially on rundowns. He's looked fine. He's looked great. But I do believe once you get a guy like Blair back and Taylor back, there's a good chance he probably isn't going to be on the 53-man roster. Or maybe he is. Maybe they keep him around and they put a guy like Deion Jordan back down.
Well, I think right now he's got to be ahead of Contavious Street.
Yeah.
We've seen more production from
Givens than Street, yeah.
Yeah, so right now I would say Givens, an undrafted free agent, is outplaying Contavious Street, who without injury would have been a first-round pick.
Yeah.
And the reason I bring this up is because, what was it, 3-4 years ago, we were starting Mike Purcell at defensive tackle and guys like that. Right. And now our 9th guy on the roster at D-line is better than our starter.
I think this goes to show kind of just, once again, John Lynch and them making great moves. A great defensive line coach that's putting people in the right position and developing the talent. We can talk all day about the fact that they had Nick Bosa and D Ford, so it's an easy job. It's really not. Not when you come in and you're implementing the wide 9 system, and it's a different philosophy. Just the way you saw Ziggy Ansah play with only 3 days of practice, not really familiar exactly with how the 49ers run defense, and especially on the defensive line. And then he comes out and he's making plays. Deion Jordan looking like a pretty good force today. I was very excited about that.
And Kerry Hyder too. Kerry Hyder has looked great.
But he's looked ferocious from the first game.
From the very first game, from his first snap in San Francisco, he's looked fantastic. That isn't just natural ability. It is natural ability to an extent, but him looking as solid as he's looked isn't. You have to give some credit to the D-line coach. You have to give some credit to Kasarik. You have to give some credit to Saleh in terms of just their understanding of what these guys can do and putting them in positions to make plays. And then obviously you tip your hat to the player for going out and being that guy.
I thought Saleh did something that he really hasn't done in a lot of games. He blitzed a ton.
Yeah,
he did.
And he really brought the heat, and he helped out that defensive line and also made Daniel Jones try to get the ball out quick to those quick outlets, and didn't always work out for him.
No.
But I thought Saleh did a good thing changing it up and making Daniel Jones feel uncomfortable in the pocket.
Yeah.
And the second part to my question, with them down so many guys and the still lack of seeing Dante Pettis on the field and targets, what do you think that means for Dante Pettis?
I think Dante Pettis is still an NFL receiver. He plays for the 49ers, and when his number's called, he's going to be expected to go out there and perform. Right now, his name's not being called, number's not being called, but neither was Mohamed Sanu, really.
Because I'm with you that I think Pettis is an NFL level receiver. I'm not.
Yeah, the real thing is like who's going to take his spot right now. There's not like the 49ers have a receiver that's ready to go.
No.
That's going to take his spot. You know, maybe when Richie James and Deebo Samuel come back, maybe that is something that changes.
Yeah. You have to start asking the question once they get healthy.
But I mean, he still is a return guy.
Yeah.
So those are questions to be answered probably another day. But, I mean, I seen him out there when he's out there. Yeah, he's not getting targeted, but
he's getting open.
I think so too.
He's getting open. And I see a lot of 49er fans talking about how he specifically is a waste of money or a waste of a roster spot. You need to watch the All-22 film. You can't watch what you see on TV and break a guy down and evaluate based on the fact that he got no targets or one target or one play he doesn't lay out enough for a ball. Like that's good and great and all, and that's fine. But if you watch that All-22 film and you just watch Dante Pettis, he gets open. It's just the chemistry is not there. And this is one of those things where if we end up letting a guy like Pettis go eventually down the road, we don't re-sign him or he ends up walking, going somewhere else, he's probably going to have a good opportunity at having a fairly good career in the NFL, even if it's just as a possession guy, as a possession receiver.
Because he can. The reason he's still on the roster.
Yeah. He's still a very talented player.
Absolutely.
Now we're going to talk about some of the key player comparisons between 49ers and New York Giants.
All right, my key player comparison is the quarterbacks, Nick Mullins and Daniel Jones. I don't think it was a stretch to say coming into this game, the thought process might have been whichever quarterback fared better, their team would fare better. And Nick Mullins definitely fared better by a long shot than Daniel Jones today. Nick Mullins completed 69% of his passes for 343 yards and a touchdown. Daniel Jones completed 53% of his passes for 179 yards, no touchdowns, and one interception. Mullins, outside of about the first two drives, was solid all day. Didn't try to do too much, got the ball in the hands of his playmakers and let them make plays. Daniel Jones was, now to his defense, he was harassed and rushed all day by the Niners defensive front. They did not make it easy for him, but outside of it, breaking a couple nice runs when he broke the pocket, he really just didn't do too much today. He couldn't connect two or three good passes together and move the chains. He was errant on a couple throws to wide open receivers. He just did not have a very good day today. I don't know if that's an indictment of Daniel Jones himself or the Giants as a whole, but he was very unimpressive today. While I thought Nick Mullins, for a guy who doesn't get many reps, doesn't until this week at practice, came out and played pretty well. No, I don't think he should start. I'm not starting that train. I'm just saying that it's a pretty good scenario for your team when your backup can come in and outplay the other team's starter at quarterback. Absolutely.
And to the quarterback situation, my player position breakdown was between Brandon Ayuk and Golden Tate. Brandon Ayuk completely outplayed Golden Tate in every facet for the most part. In the rushing game, 3 rushing attempts for 31 yards and a touchdown. Looked like we used him a lot, similar to how we kind of used Deebo at the beginning of the last season, where there's a lot of reverses and kind of counter actions going the other direction with Debo. Last year we did that a lot. They used Ayuk in that kind of role this year a lot. And I was always wondering when we drafted Ayuk and I saw some of the clips of him and the speed and the elusiveness and how well he runs with the ball after the catch, if we were going to see a little bit of that this year, of Debo taking more of the route runner role and Ayuk kind of going into that slot, kind of using him in the run game a little bit, sort of like we used Debo last year. And it looks like, for the most part, especially early on in the season, they're going to try and get Ayuk going by getting him the ball early in space. They're not always necessarily on deep throws downfield, but just getting the ball and letting him try and make plays with his ability to run. And then in the pass game, absolutely throttled Golden Tate. Catches, receptions was the same. They both had 5, but Ayuk goes for 70 yards. 70 yards and would have had a touchdown early in the game if Nick Mullins just leads them a little bit more in the end zone. But for the most part, this is a big win for Brandon Ayuk. Had a great showing in his second career NFL game. Kudos to the Niners defense for making it hard on Daniel Jones to get anything really going and find receivers. But Brandon Ayuk, man, what an absolute monster performance in Game 2 of his second professional career NFL game. Absolutely great.
Yeah, definitely. And, my key comparison is, though, actually the running backs catching the ball in the backfield. The receptions were huge. So we talked about in the preview show, I really thought that the 49ers could get the running backs involved. That was one of the things that I saw on film when I watched the Giants play against the Bears, was that the Bears were able to sneak players out. And the 49ers running backs really didn't disappoint. They had 8 catches for 109 yards and a touchdown. Jerick McKinnon had the big play down the sideline. It wasn't even supposed to be in a route, but he still kept playing, and he got found, and he made a great catch, jump in the air, make a great play. You saw Wilson make a great catch on the screen, good run, good blocking, gets into the end zone. You just saw it all day from the running backs. Kyle Juszczyk getting involved, JaMychal Hasty, first play in the NFL, boom, you get the ball on a slant. Welcome to the NFL, kid. And I just thought overall the 49ers used their tight ends and running backs really well, but I thought everyone was involved today. This was the complete game plan that we've been expecting from Kyle Shanahan. We finally saw it, but it showed the dynamics of the running backs especially. So, yeah, big-time play for the running backs in the passing game, and I can't wait to see, once everyone's healthy, what happens.
This week's Soft Player of the Week is Giants linebacker Blake Martinez. Niners came and made you look bad last year twice in Green Bay. You looked like you didn't know who had the ball in his hands on half the plays. And this week, when you did figure out who had the ball in his hands, Ben Garland came and knocked you on your butt into next week. You looked like you didn't want to get up and play football no more after that one.
No.
It just seems like no matter how much money you get, no matter what team you're on, the Niners just make you look bad. So because of that, you are our Soft Player of the Week.
Soft. Poor
Baby
Blake.
soft.
Poor Blake Martinez, man. He looked good there for a bit. That first sack he had of Mullins, I was like, uh-oh. My goodness, where did this guy come from?
He actually made quite a few plays.
And he had quite a few plays, and then just in that second half, I don't know what happened.
Well, then Ben Garland whacked him.
It all went downhill from there. Spiraled completely out of control.
I didn't know Ben Garland served in the war, by the way.
Yeah, I didn't know that. But I did know Ben Garland is one heck of a downfield blocker. Absolutely tremendous. Watch the film. It's going to be fun to watch. He blocks better downfield than Weston Richburg. And that's going to be something that's going to come up that's going to be interesting is when Richburg is healthy, is it Richburg or is it Garland? Because Garland's playing really good.
Garland played for Kyle in Atlanta, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
And played a lot of games there for him. So I don't think he was brought in on accident.
No.
Comfortable in the system. He looks fantastic. Rest in peace, Blake Martinez. You're our Soft Player of the Week. And you want to know what's really soft? Not liking this video or subscribing to this channel or hitting that notification bell. You don't want to be on this segment. Trust me. Okay? And the only way to guarantee that it doesn't happen is you do those things that I just said. Like the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and while you're at it, just comment too. That'll guarantee it. Promise you. And now, it's time for those offensive key matchups. Ant, we'll start with yours. What did you have and how you think it played out for you?
I had the 49ers tight ends versus the Giants safeties and Logan Ryan. And I thought the 49ers really did good. Ross Dwelley came out to play, and he had 4 catches for 54 yards, which was nice. Jordan Reed wasn't as involved as long as I would like because of the injury, but he was out there. And when he was out there, he was making plays and he was causing some issues. They did exactly what we thought they were going to do. They ended up matching up Logan Ryan in the slot with Jordan Reed and trying to take him out. And Jordan Reed was still just too much. He's going to be a problem in the power slot as long as he's healthy. Ross Dwelley showed today that he's a legit threat in the passing game. He got a lot of free releases. I look for that to change in the future. If he's playing against these other teams, they're going to have to take notice. They were kind of using him as kind of an afterthought today. They were worried about so much everybody else, but Dwelley showed up in a big way today, and so did Jordan Reed. And once the people's tight end comes back, I feel sorry for everyone else, but I think the 49ers got the big dub on this one against the Giants secondary.
My offensive key matchup for the 49ers was Jeff Wilson Jr. against the Giants defensive front seven. Now your initial look at his rushing numbers may make you think that he lost. He only had 12 carries for 15 yards. But I would say that he won this matchup a little bit because he also had 3 catches for 54 yards and a touchdown, and he ran for a touchdown. So he had 2 touchdowns. I still think that gives him the win.
Definitely.
Absolutely gives him the win, 100%. I agree with you there. Mine was one that was kind of nervous going into the game. I was really worried about it. It was Nick Mullins versus this Giants secondary. And, this is a flat-out, hands-down, no questions asked win. Huge win. I think for me, it was the matchup that we really desperately needed to win on offense. And he was going to win this matchup even if he threw for 200 yards and no picks and no touchdowns. Like, he just needed to not make mistakes, and he not only didn't make mistakes today, he made some good throws. He had some bad throws. He had some questionable throws, and it would have been an even better day for him if he hadn't missed some guys behind, especially early in the game. You could tell he was a little jittery early on. Some of his misses early were behind guys or a little high in space, but once he got comfortable, he was good. He was good to go. He was making really good throws, or at least putting the ball in spots where his guys could go make plays. He had one to Jet on a first down in which he threw a little behind him, but Jet, athlete, got down in space, stayed low, kept his center of gravity right in the middle, reaches over, makes a play, and then reaches out. He had the big play where Jet leaks out downfield, and Mullins puts it over the top, and Jet goes up and makes a great play and a great catch. Brandon Ayuk did a great job of getting open. One of the routes I texted both of you right when it happened. He sat down on a little, looked like a little curl route behind, or it looked like maybe even an in route or a dig across the middle, and he recognized zone, sat down, and Mullins put it a little bit behind him, but put it in a place where either Ayuk was going to get it or it was going to be an incomplete pass. He did a wonderful job today. Didn't make it very many mistakes at all, and when he did make mistakes, they weren't game-breaking or game-changing. And so for me, and Nick Mullins against that Giants secondary, right. Huge W.
Big time. Yeah, big dubs all the way around for the 49ers offense against the Giants defense. Straight beast for the 49ers this week. Wide receiver Brandon Ayuk, who not only scored his first touchdown, but on 8 touches accounted for 101 yards, both through the air and on the ground. Absolutely great showing. This is exactly what you expect from a first-round pick, making an impact early, and I look forward to seeing what he can do in the future. Big-time player, NFL. You better be scared of Brandon Ayuk.
Big time, man. He played great today. Looked fantastic. I had mentioned it earlier. I thought they might try and use him kind of in the Debo role, getting him out in space, getting him on runs, reverses, sweeps, counters, things like that. Kyle Shanahan knows exactly what he wants out of his receivers and what he needs to do with them to put them in space and put them in positions. Did it today, and going forward, you can expect a lot more for it. Like I said, though, I'm still excited to see what it's going to be once you get him, Kittle, and Debo on the field at the same time. You said it. NFL needs to watch out because once this offense gets healthy, it's going to be bad.
Hello, Eagles.
Yeah, Brandon Ayuk really showed the explosiveness that the Niners talked about when they drafted him coming out of Arizona State. I know he ran the slower 40 at the combine, but right away Kyle kept mentioning his explosiveness, and I think it was a little bit shown last week, and this week it was really shown, especially on that reverse. He just blew by everyone into the end zone. He looks like he's going to be a player.
Absolutely, man. Brandon Ayuk was an absolute beast, but now we got to talk about our defensive key matchups. And I'll start with mine. Mine was Fred Warner versus these Giants running backs. big W. Huge W from one Fred Warner. I have to talk about the interception just because he had it, and it was wonderful, and it was great, and it was fantastic. He did a great job in space, came down and collapsed and broke right on that ball. Did a great job. Fred Warner is an absolute stud. We keep talking about how he might be a top 5. Every game now since week one he didn't have a great showing. Every game since then, though, so far, these last 2, he's slowly working himself up the list and the board as a guy who's going to be in the top 5. Definitely by the end of the year, if not top 3. He is a fantastic. His instincts are great. The way he blows through the hole on big downs, on 3rd and shorts, 4th and 1s, he is always, if not making the play, right in there causing havoc on those key downs when we need him to. 2 tackles, 5 assisted. He was all over the place today. The Giants running game couldn't get anything going. They couldn't really get anything going on offense, man. Fred Warner, tip the hat, man. Absolute great job today. And looking forward to see what you do against this atrocious Eagles offensive line next week.
Fred Warner, he was covering Evan Ingram sometimes, and he did great. And I thought that he ran the route better than Ingram did on the interception. And that brings me to my point, which was, and my key matchup was the 49ers safeties against Evan Ingram. And I thought that they did a good job holding him down today. He only had 3 catches, didn't really do a whole lot. It wasn't involved. For a big-time athletic receiver, receiving tight end, and supposed to be a big-time threat, he really didn't do anything, in my opinion. I thought that the Tart, Jimmy Ward, and K'Wan Williams really locked him down when they covered him. He wasn't getting open in space. His catches were quick, outlet throws, and other than that, he just couldn't get nothing done. And I thought the 49ers did a good job, and he's a liability in the blocking, so run blocking wasn't good for him. So good job for the 49ers safeties and K'Wan Williams blocking him down today.
Indeed, I agree. Mine was Kerry Hyder versus the Giants tackles Andrew Thomas and Cameron Fleming. Andrew Thomas looked about what I thought. He's a first-round pick. He showed some potential, but he also got completely worked by Hyder on some plays. You could definitely tell which guy's been in the NFL for several years on a lot of plays. Hyder's numbers weren't amazing. He had 1 tackle, 1 assist, and 1 sack. But I think if you watch the game, you saw 92 out there providing constant pressure on the quarterback, whether he was lined up over Fleming or Thomas. And he was in Daniel Jones's face all day, and he really caused problems for him. So that was a big win also for the 49ers.
This week's The Block is Hot defensive player is one K'Wan Williams, guys. Ant, how are we feeling about his performance this game against the Giants?
He looked good. He played great. He was all over the place making plays. He had tight coverage on Evan Ingram, Golden Tate. So he did a really good job in the slot. Took some pressure off of the outside corners, having to make key coverages, and the safeties being able to help out in other places, covering running backs and giving help to the corners. So I thought he did a really good job. He's been playing very well all season, and today was no different.
Yeah, K'Wan Williams has been locked down for all 3 weeks of this season so far. In the slot, I haven't seen anyone give him trouble yet this year, and I hate to go back and harp on it, but Madden ratings adjusters, watch him play. 74, are you kidding me?
Yeah, he should be higher. He really should be higher. He had a great week, great game. Led the team in tackles. I saw him stepping up and playing against the run a lot more today than I have in the past, which was nice. It was nice to see, especially with Greenlaw out. We were going to need that. We were going to go a little bit more with a nickel look and getting him on the field. So he did a great job against both the run and the pass. He locked down the guys he needed to lock down. He only had a few times where I felt he got beat, and when K'Wan Williams is getting beat, he's not getting beat deep. It's an in-breaking route where he slips or doesn't get the break on time. The guy's able to make a play, and he's there right away to bring the guy down in space and not get a whole lot extra after the catch. Absolute great performance from Mr. K'Wan Williams, and that's why he is hot on the block this week.
Good blitzer.
Absolutely.
For those of you that enjoyed this episode, make sure and be on the lookout Friday for our preview for the 49ers Monday night game against the Eagles at home. Should be a return of a lot of stars. We'll break down who's playing and who isn't.
Also, I got a question for you and for us. What time is that episode going to be at on Friday?
5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard.
For those of you military guys, that would be 17:30.
Oh my goodness gracious. We do math on this podcast. We do math. We know military time. We got it all. Why aren't you watching this? Why aren't more of you doing this? What's wrong with you? Also, comment down below and let us know if you'd like to see other things from us other than these special reports and the podcast show that we're doing currently. We're interested in potentially expanding and doing some film breakdown and maybe even live streaming. So if you'd like to see that, let us know in the comment section down below.
I'm going to keep it real with you. I don't like Philadelphia, and we all know Balboa lost that second fight.
He did. He definitely lost that second fight. Absolutely. I'm really looking forward to Friday's show, though. We're going to have a breakdown situation of their quarterback depth and play and what's going on there with the Eagles. It's the big question mark. Really looking forward to it, man. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be good. All right, guys, you know what it is. Chalk another one up.